Of course, Joel would go live 5 minutes before I do. I don't usually stream on Saturdays, but I fell asleep last night during my usual streaming time. Hey Max, welcome in. So here we are on a Saturday. Ooh. It might be a real short one. Admittedly, we shall see. But there's also I'm not going to be on Ass tomorrow. So, hey Crovis. I have plans with a friend, so I will not be on Ass with Mezzo. I know, big disappointment. I guess we can just, get from that I hate Mezzo and Joel and would never associate with them under any circumstances. I guess that's what we can get from this. And it would be accurate. So if you would like to call in, we have 2 options open tonight. We have the Linktree and we have TikTok. Someone drew this amazing art. I think they go by like Beef Arts, or maybe it's Beef Arts. They drew Joel and Mezzo looking like really cool, kind of like saints from those old like medieval portraits. And then I'm in the background as a flying robot goat with an erection. And it might be my favorite art I've ever seen. Yeah, I wear the headphones to conceal steam from coming out of my ears, the anger I feel when I talk about Jezzo. There we are. I think I've fooled my YouTube mods. They're not used to me being live on Saturday. And it was poor timing. Hey, Tilting Windmill. It was poor timing with Joel going live right before this. I did not know he was planning to go live right before. Literally got the notification as I was setting up my stream. So, hi Nora, thank you. Some atrocities are good, says Aaron. I'm gonna put a question mark on that. It's alright, Agnostic, I forgive you. And thank you, Ellen. Very nice of you to say. You're gonna watch My Hero Academia, but then you saw me go live? Hey, hey! Can't believe I won out over My Hero. It's a strange schedule. Yeah, so I fell asleep last night during my usual streaming time because I have a terrible sleep schedule. I sleep through a lot of times when I'm not supposed to. I can sleep just about anywhere, except it's hard for me to fall asleep in a bed. I fall asleep on couches, in chairs, in public. My friends have so many pictures of me falling asleep in weird places in public. I don't know why that happens, but it happens. Sometimes they do funny edits to them. Like I have one that they made into an album cover. Do I have sleep apnea? Not that I'm aware of. Someone called in on the Linktree. Oh, I didn't even see that. Blake, you able to hear me? Hello, Blake.
Hello, how are you doing?
I am doing alright. Your battery is a little bit low if you happen to have a charger with you.
Is this any better?
I don't know if it's charging or not. It just shows me that you had a low battery warning.
Oh, right now. Oh, no, it's fine. I've got a lot of battery.
You have 18%.
Yeah, I mean, I can plug it in.
All right.
Oh, I thought you meant my volume was low there, so spoke
No,
a bit
no.
louder.
No, I can hear you fine. It's weirdly choppy, but it's been doing that sometimes. I don't know why it's been doing that little crackly thing.
My phone's pretty terrible, to be honest.
Oh, it sounds better now, so we'll see.
Oh, well, there we go.
All right. So, Blake, I have that you are a Christian. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Topic of the night is why do Christians defend atrocities?
No, I couldn't resist. It's such a punchy topic.
It is, it is. And I will tell you, the thing that tends to happen here is people come in and they say, "Oh, Christians don't defend atrocities," and then said people are presented with atrocities and proceed to defend them.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm sure that happens a lot. I'd be curious to see if I'm one of them. So happy to be tested, almost, I suppose.
Well, all right, yeah. So, first one I usually go to is gonna be biblical slavery,
Right? Yes, of course.
the the type that God explicitly condones and tells them how to take slaves from the nations around them, gives them instructions on how they're allowed to beat their slaves, gives them instructions on how they are allowed to grape their slaves. So just things like that that are not great.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's product of the time. It's absolutely horrendous.
But should God's
What was?
morals be a product of the time, or should they be perfectly moral?
I mean, that's a tricky one. I mean, it sort of supposes that there is a sort of all-thinking, sort of all-knowing God, rather than sort of a, I don't know, some sort of ethereal sort of creator that doesn't really necessarily have a morality of sorts, which is obviously not really the Christian God,
Right.
of course. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly a fair challenge. You would assume a God would have sort of a perfect morality or as close to a perfect morality as you want, but it's a tricky one really because it's quite subjective morality almost, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not really tricky unless you are trying to keep this picture of a perfect God, right? Because it's pretty clear looking at it from an outside perspective. Oh, this perfect God does not exist obviously if that God is condoning slavery, condoning beating slaves, condoning raping slaves. That's just very clearly in opposition to the idea of this perfectly good God. But because those who believe in that God, they have this presupposition of that God being good, they have
Mm.
to try to find a way to make all the horrible things that he does in the Bible make sense with that idea of an all good God.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, the obvious answer here is that those passages were put in by humans, people, to justify what they were doing at that time. I mean, that is what's happened here, right?
Well, I would say the entire Bible was written by humans to justify what they were doing at that time. It's not based on the existence of any real God. But if you're a Christian, it's going to be a difficult road for you to say, well, these particular passages in the Bible just aren't actually what God said. Because then how do you determine what is and what is not the actual will or word of God in the Bible?
Well, you can't. I mean, anyone trying to tell you that they know the word of God and that you don't. I mean, that's a crazy position to
But that
take, in my opinion.
essentially makes the Bible useless. If you say, well, we can't determine whether or not it's actually the Word of God or it's just some people wrote down what they wanted, then what use is the Bible to you?
Yeah, I mean that's sort of where you get to almost with a lot of these well, with all of these texts really. Um, but yeah, I mean it's clearly been created by humans, um, but you know that sort of belief in God still won't go away. You know.
Not really. As an atheist, no.
So you're fully atheist. You're not even sort of agnostic about it. You're
Well, I'm an
fully on that
agnostic
sort of
atheist. Agnostic
right.
and atheist are two separate spheres. Gnostic and agnostic refers to belief, and then atheist. Sorry, Gnostic or agnostic refers to knowledge. Theist, atheist refers to belief. Swapped them up there. I've said that so many
Mm.
times. How did I get that swapped? So I don't claim to have knowledge of God. I don't think that if there is a God, we could possibly have knowledge of it. But I lack a belief in gods. Like, there's not a God that I have a belief in. So,
So if we take away the God elements, do you believe in sort of like a sort of like a higher entity, almost like a higher intelligence? Because to an ant, we are gods, right? Do you know what I mean? Like we could wipe them out
not
with ease,
really, because that I wouldn't say that that's the qualities of a god. When we talk about a god, we typically talk about having like supernatural abilities or the ability to create the universe. Many are like all powerful. Not all, because obviously there are some polytheistic religions where the different gods have like their own little niche, but um, I wouldn't say that definitionally we would be gods to ants because
conceptually, though. I mean,
but we are still like natural beings. We are confined by the laws of physics. We are confined by the laws of logic. We have limitations on us that a god would not.
but ants have no real way to sort of view that. What if there's an entity that we physically can't even understand the way that ants can't really understand us? They just
Well,
see
yeah,
this
that's why I
giant
am an
talking figure.
agnostic atheist, because if there is some sort of higher entity, I think it would be something that we couldn't have knowledge of or understand. But there's not any particular one that I have a belief in, so that would make me an atheist.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, perfectly fine. Yeah, that's
Now,
totally rational.
I do directly disbelieve in the Christian God because of some of these issues that I've already pointed out tonight.
Just the Christian God, or is it all?
But there's more, but I'm a former Christian. I was a Christian up until the end of high school. Um, I went to
Okay.
religious school for years and years and years, so it's what I know best. It's what I'm the most studied in and what I feel the most qualified to debate on.
Right. Okay. Yeah. No, no, that makes sense. Yeah. I actually just saw recently that they've made it law in Texas now
To read
that they.
Bible stories as in schools, yeah.
I really find a problem with that personally.
Yeah.
I think I think that's a step too far. I think it should be left to the individual to navigate these ideas themselves. To actually put it into school, that's not it's an explicit religious school to me seems it seems reckless. I don't know.
Yeah, they tried to do it in steps. Like when they were introducing like having the 10 commandments in schools.
Yeah,
Because I'm sure
yeah,
you're familiar, many of the 10 commandments are just specifically about worshiping the Christian God. Um,
yeah. Well, I think who was it who did a great Ten Commandments breakdown? It might have been Stephen Fry or Christopher Hitchens, and they broke it down and effectively went, "You've actually really only got three commandments here because a lot of them are sort of the same ones almost."
yeah, the argument for putting them in schools was because like it's the foundation for our laws. But I think the only things on there that are explicitly like against the law are not to commit perjury and not to kill.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't think like sort of cheating is illegal in the US, is it?
Mm-mm.
I don't think so. No, there's some places where it actually is. I swear in Japan or Korea, it's actually illegal to cheat on your wife or husband or boyfriend girlfriend. I think it's actually a
Damn.
part of the law. Yeah, yeah. It seems quite crazy when you sort of think about it in that sense.
Well, it seems like we're kind of a lot in agreement here, but I do find it interesting that you are a Christian, yet you seem to already have a lot of thoughts on these particular issues in the Bible. Is there anything that continues to like keep you in the faith with these issues?
Yeah. So I think the first foremost one is I find it very useful that you have a sort of idealistic personality in Jesus, right? And I guess the Muslims would say, they have that idealistic personality in Muhammad, and they all sort of try and live by these rules, good or bad, or I just find that useful for me personally.
Yeah, I don't find it very idealistic because in Christianity, those who aren't saved are damned. That's not super idealistic to me. The idea that the majority of people on this earth are going to be suffering for eternity.
Yeah, I just don't buy into that kind of brand of it. I guess there's probably a very different brand of Christianity in the States, I imagine.
It's
This is
textually supported.
Oh, of course, yeah, and then that's how they defend it. That's how you can sort of defend your position because you can claim, I know the word of God, and if you don't follow what I'm telling you, you're going to burn in hell. This is evil. I'm sorry. This kind of rhetoric is evil by definition. Um, this is not what you should be
I mean,
teaching people.
I would agree that it's evil by definition, but I would also again say it is supported by the text in the Bible. I mean, even Jesus himself tells the parable of the rich man and Lazarus, in which the rich man is burning in hellfire, begging for a single drop of water to cool his tongue. So even in Jesus's ideal world, there's still people suffering in fire. Maybe not for eternity, but for long enough that he begs for water.
Yeah, the health thing's very interesting for me. The Pope said something quite um, telling recently. He sort of prefaced it by saying, this isn't dogma, but he likes to think of hell as empty, which is, I find that quite nice. I think that's quite, it's almost quite poetic in a way that you would like to think of this place as being empty.
I mean, people would like to think of it that way, but again, that's kind of just making it a choose your own adventure thing with the Bible.
That's good. Yeah, that's funny. It's very true. Very true.
It sort of is. And like as nice of a thought as it might be, if you take the Bible to be true, then a nice thought is not going to change that. Um,
No, no, of course not. So in the entire world, if we could sort of maybe branch it out a little bit, because I very, very, very rarely get to have these kind of conversations. Which country or religion do you see as the sort of most damaging? That if we had to go sort of one by one almost, and say, okay, right, we're gonna deal with this first. We're gonna go to Azerbaijan or something. We're gonna go to China. Where do you see religion as got such a stronghold that
I
the
don't know if
danger?
it's fair to choose one in particular, because I think a lot of religions that are not inherently harmful can become more harmful through extremism.
Hmm? Yeah.
Um, like I would say Christian beliefs are not necessarily harmful on the face of them. But when it becomes about forcibly converting people, when it becomes used to, and generally it's not anymore, but it was used to keep the slave trade going. When it is used to forcibly convert um, queer
Oh,
people,
yes. Yeah.
when it is used to persecute people for their identities, for their orientations, um, that is when it becomes harmful. Um, Similarly, there is problematic Islamic extremism. There is problematic Judaic extremism. I think a lot of it comes down to when a religion extends beyond holding a personal belief into trying to impose those personal beliefs on others.
Yes, yeah, and that seems to be quite a central doctrine of Islam, that it's sort of this idea of everyone must believe this, which
Well, and
I
Christianity, which is why evangelicalism exists.
yeah, you have the evangelicals in the United States. They're a very interesting
It's like
group
the most
of people.
popular brand of Christianity in the States.
Oh, is it? I
Mm.
thought it was. I always thought it was Catholicism for some reason. I don't know why.
I believe it's overtaken it. Um, there's the idea of evangelicalism is fully based upon, hey, we need to go and convert these people. Um, so it's always about, oh, we have to share the word of the gospel. We have to make sure that these people are converting. It's it's kind of that example of pushing beliefs onto others, and it is so common. Um,
I might
like
be correct here, but is proselytizing not sort of forbidden in the Bible? I'm sure
Uh,
I've read that.
it is. They tell themselves that what they're doing is not proselytizing, but they're following Jesus' instructions to go and preach to all the nations. Um, because the Bible has so many contradictions in it, they can just choose whichever perspective is convenient for them.
Mm. Well, there used to be a thing called Christendom, which was that sort of idea of spreading the word of God, all throughout the world. And that word's completely died out now. You don't hear that word now, which is, I think, a sort of step in the right direction almost. Um, because I think any free thinking, rational person who's not completely dogmatic would like to live in a world where it's you're in your house, I'm in my house. If you want to come over to my house and discuss whatever, brilliant. But I don't get to come to your house and tell you that we're discussing this now.
Yeah,
This this seems
but it's
crazy.
understandable for those who are part of the evangelical denominations, because to them they are culpable in that person's eternal suffering if they do not take the action to evangelize to them. Um,
Right. Okay, so
like,
that's what's going on there.
right. I've heard stories from people, and I've even had somewhat similar, not quite this experience, but people who have spent some of their last moments with loved ones trying to convert them, trying to preach to them in like a desperate last ditch attempt to save their soul, instead of just appreciating the time that they have with that person. Because to them, if they don't spend their time doing that, they are robbing that person of their last chance to make it to heaven. Um,
Jeez.
yeah, dark, isn't it? And it also
It's
it
quite
it
dark, really.
really it inhibits the grieving process considerably. Um,
Yes.
and this I
Yes.
have gone through directly because my partner, his brother passed away very young last year, and the entire funeral service was just trying to convert everybody in the crowd to Christianity.
Oh God, really?
Yeah, it was very difficult to sit through, but
Yeah, especially as a sort of atheist sort of commentator, I imagine that's
yeah, well,
probably
I that's actually what got me into making this sort of content. I wasn't doing it
right.
at the time. I had
I
done debate
see.
streams before, but not about religion in particular. But that kind of just really didn't sit right with me. um,
Yeah.
just like,
No, I mean that's horrible, really.
yeah, to just hear things like this grief will crush you. You'll never make it through without God. Um, just
Yeah.
not good. But this is not me just trying to like complain about people saying shitty things during a funeral. Like, it comes down to this persistent idea of like, you have to take every single chance you can to convert someone, or else you are failing them and you are letting them suffer and not be saved. Because
Yeah.
for those who believe in hell as eternal torment, pretty much any action they could possibly take on Earth is going to be justifiable to them because they're saving someone from literally an eternity of suffering.
Yes, and this is one of the big problems I have with religion in general, so capital R religion, is this idea of, it's very easy for these people to sort of fall down the well and sort of justify anything, like you say. Um, and you see a lot of it. I mean, I see some of it in the UK, not so much of it. but it is quite terrifying seeing people so full with zeal. Um, that's quite scary. I see, and you can sort of see it in their eyes. It's like, wow, like you really, really need this. You really need everyone to need this too. Which, for me, oddly enough, it's probably weird for me to even say this, but for me, I think you've sort of lost the utility there. You know, if it's not helping you, if I need to believe this stuff too, what use of it is it then? If it's not bringing you any joy, until I believe it too, you're not happy is a terrible place to be. Those kinds of people really baffle me, because you replace God with anything else. You know, replace God with like Game of Thrones. No, you must watch this show. You know, I can't enjoy Game of Thrones until you watch Game of Thrones. It's like, what are you talking about? What are you actually talking about? It makes no sense. It really makes no sense.
But I am a little bit curious about what parts of Christianity that are specific to Christianity that you resonate with. Because you say this idealistic thinking, but that's not really specific to Christianity. What is it about Christian teachings in particular?
So I just effectively try and live a good life. I try to sort of follow this sort of teachings of Jesus, you know, this idea of, you know, being in your community, helping others, you know, being kind, um,
But none of that
these
is
kinds of things.
specifically Christian.
Oh, of course not. I mean, you can totally do all of those things absolutely, and you don't need religion, which is it's perfectly fine. More power to people to run their lives how they want. You know, this is just it's just who I am at this point. You know.
Yeah, I guess I'm just asking, like, for you personally, why you feel the need to describe yourself as Christian in order to get this utility if the things that you resonate with are not specifically Christian values.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, I suppose. You're sort of going down the line of, you know, well, what's the point, right? Is sort of the sort of next point. But you know, it's probably just so part of our culture now, and it's so ingrained in sort of institutions and you know everything else. That you know, it's just sort of a default almost. Do you know what I mean? Which is
I
probably a
hear that,
very
but I
very
wouldn't.
loose
But if you
argument. I
don't
appreciate.
genuinely believe in it, is it actually your religion or is it just a community that you're a part of?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a part of that, but yeah, it is just sort of part of being part of a community, really. Because you know the people in my life, you know, they're not crazy zealots like some of the stories you've told me. You know, if someone tried to pull that kind of shtick at a funeral of someone
That's
in my
very
life,
common here.
it
There
would.
are billboards on the side of the road saying that, like, you will meet God. Are you going to heaven or hell? Um,
Oh,
Tons
really?
of like Jesus Saves billboard. There's entire radio stations dedicated to just Christian music and sermons. Um, it is heavily ingrained in the culture, particularly in the American South. Um, so I understand there being this community built around it, and I wish that there were better and more secular communities like that. Um, but yeah, I guess I just, when I hear something like that you're kind of just a part of it because of its being the default or it being part of the culture, it doesn't seem like it actually aligns with your beliefs.
Mm. I just find that you know it helps me, you know, regulate myself. Um, and obviously, you know, you don't need you know a sort of archetypal story to do that. Absolutely not. You know, people do it every day. You know, most of my friends are atheists. You know, I get ribbed quite a lot for it. You know, what are you doing all this for? You know, it's a waste of time. You know, put it down. Um, but you know, it's almost like it's just been grandfathered in at this point. Um, so I don't know really. I don't know. It's just sort of it just sort of brings me a little bit of peace just to think that there's you know something or someone out there who's sort of watching over me. Um, that brings
Do
me a
you
little bit of peace.
do you believe that that's true?
I do, in a sense, in a sense. But then, I'm a man of the 21st century, so it's very hard to look at religion without the logic and the knowledge of a 21st century man.
Right.
Which is why I sort of can concede that the Bible is man-made. This isn't some sort of divine text that sort of fell from the heavens. I don't know if people believe that, but this is clearly, it is man-made. We know it's man-made because we can look at Christianity, and then we can look at its sister Islam. Islam plagiarized a lot of Christianity, including some of the mess ups, shall we say. They actually plagiarized some of the errors in Christianity. So that for me defeats this idea that these are divine. These are, this is definitely the word of God. And Muslims will tell it's the Muhammad wrote this down verbatim, 10 years after he was given these revelations. And it's like, well, that can't be true because that passage there is in Christianity, and that doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
And then you've got it here in the you've got it here in the Quran, and you've got the same error. So this cannot be the irrefutable word of God, can it? It's not possible.
I
It is
agree. I,
impossible.
I guess the reason I was asking more like, do you really believe is like, sure, it is nice to imagine that there is something out there that has our best interest in heart and is looking out for us. Um, but if you don't actually have a belief that that being is real, I'm not sure if it still has that utility for you.
Mm, yeah, yeah. And maybe if I had sort of more of that in my life from, others, maybe it would start to sort of diminish away, maybe. Possibly it would. Um, but I just try and live each day really. Um, and just try and be good. Because I know there's such a propensity for us humans to be evil, to be bad. And I just find it sort of a bit of a sort of a focusing beam for me, really. That you know, say I'm in traffic, someone cuts you off, the instant reaction you want to do, you want to go chase after them, call them a effing jeffing, whatever. But then there's that thing in my head that's like, just keep it cool. Jesus, Jesus is watching. God is watching. You can be better.
I
You're
live in a
better
place
than
where
me.
you'd get shot if you did that, so I do not try to follow people if they cut me off. I do not. That is not my first instinct. Um,
Yeah, maybe. And I think that's probably a very big difference between our two countries, that England's gone through this sort of de-Christianization almost, that the States hasn't, from what you're telling me. I've only ever been once.
it feels like they're
Uh,
becoming more and more radical with the legislation, like what was happening in Texas. Um,
yes. And I see some of it starting to seep into England as well, which I see as a problem. Um, because we seem to copy everything you guys do for some reason. I don't quite know why that is.
because we're the best and we're super cool and you want to be just like us.
It's very Trump. We're the best.
We're the best country of all the countries. We're the best and the biggest. Everyone says we're the biggest country and the best. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, that is very Trump. That's funny. Um, but he does not seem to me to be a Christian. I think he's
oh
not
God,
really
no.
on that.
There's interviews with him where they're like, "What's your favorite Bible verse?" And he's like, "I don't want to say."
Right. Yeah. But they sort of say every president has to be a Christian to get elected. Is some
That's
of the
pretty
narrative.
true. Generally the American public does not trust their leaders if they are not at least religious, but they trust most if they are Christian. Like you can even see some of the hate that was directed towards New York City's new mayor Zoran Mamdani because he is Muslim. Um, there were a lot of people during the campaign that were saying, "Oh, he's gonna put Sharia law in place in New York." And what's actually happened is just their rent rates have been frozen for 2 years. Their streets are better. Um, they're moving towards like more affordable groceries and free transportation. So no Sharia law yet, but I guess we'll have to stay tuned.
Yeah, I mean that would be quite impressive if you pulled that one off. So here's a question: would you prefer if he was atheist too?
Um, it's hard to say because I don't know how much one's like religious beliefs are impacting their policy. I don't see anything about his policies in particular that push Islam. A lot of Christian politicians, I do see policies that push Christianity.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So it's not, I'm not as affected if I hear a politician who just like happens to have a religious affiliation, but does their best to keep that affiliation from affecting their legislation and their policy. Um, as opposed to someone who comes in and is like Jesus said that we need to put the 10 Commandments in every classroom, and we need to do the Pledge of Allegiance to the Christian flag every morning too, and we need to read these Bible stories in schools. Like that's when I'm like, no, don't do that. Um,
Wow. I didn't know we had a flag. Do we have a flag?
oh yeah, oh yeah.
Is, is there
I
really?
vaguely remember the Pledge of Allegiance to the Christian flag. I remember like I pledge allegiance to the Christian flag and to the Savior for whose kingdom it stands. One brotherhood, something. I don't remember all the rest of it. But there is a Christian flag. Um, I'm
I
sure
suppose
someone in
everything
here
needs a
remembers
flag.
the fucking pledge. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Well, everything's got a flag now. I suppose we all sort of need sort of a crest of our own. I suppose we make our own flags. I don't
yeah, Christianity needs more representation.
know. What's the do you know sort of off the top of your head the sort of breakdown of Christianity versus atheism in the US? Is it like 40-60, or is it overwhelmingly Christian?
It's very Christian.
I'd be curious to know what to sort of
I
make of
I don't
those.
know the exact ones.
Because I think in the UK it's increasingly less common for people to describe themselves as religious,
Well, more
even
people are becoming atheist. But let's
which I think is a sort of natural progression of time as we get more and more
Pew Research
advanced.
says 62% are Christian, 23%
Wow.
being evangelical Protestant, and then 19% Catholic.
Wow, okay, so wow, that evangelicalism really took over.
And 29% religiously unaffiliated, but only 5% atheist, 6% agnostic, and then 19% just put nothing in particular.
Right, okay, so we can sort of 20% atheist, 30% Christian is really quite a lot. I think in the UK it's far less. I think the number of people who I think a lot of people just tick Christian because they want to tick a box in the UK. I think people just like to feel included in the UK, so they just tick the
I
box
mean,
almost.
some of them might just feel like it's part of the culture and they've been grandfathered in.
Yeah, yeah, touche. Yeah, I mean, I think that is probably the case with a lot of people. It's just, this grandfather did, we'll just get on with it, which is a very, very English way of doing things. Oh, we'll just get on with it,
You know,
which is
the only time
probably a
I've like
flaw.
the only time I've really left the country on a trip like that wasn't a mission trip was to go to London and Birmingham because I wanted to see a musical that was going on in Birmingham. So me and my partner, we were Americans in London. Uh, and it was a bizarre experience. Definitely just a very different. I don't even know how to describe it. For one, y'all's food is bad. I'm sorry.
Is it really?
I don't want to be mean, but going to the store and seeing like prawn, egg, and mayonnaise sandwiches made me a little sick to my stomach.
Yeah, well, you've got to get out of the main shops really and go to some of the restaurants. But I mean, a lot of the restaurants will be like French food or Italian food, so it's
We
probably
ate at this like taco place, and it was horrific.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's unfair. You guys have Mexico to the south for the
That's fair.
tacos,
And I
but
did grow up
we
in
are,
the South, so
we are
soul
never going
food,
to do
Southern cooking, some of the it's good. Now, we did. I did have like well, what was it in specific that I had? It was like it was some sort of meat pie. It was really good. Um, that I liked. But yeah, the food was rough the whole time we were there. Um, just
Yeah,
not it. But that's for that to be like my biggest criticism. It's, I feel a very very lame
yeah.
mark against you.
Well, hilariously, during World War II, when American soldiers came to Britain, they were given a slice of paper which had some sort of rules on it, and one of the rules was, don't mock the food. Remember, these people have been at war for the last 1,000 years. So they've been rationing kind
Well,
of
you eat
thing.
like you still are.
Yeah, yeah. The beans on toast, I will admit, is a.
I did have beans on toast. That was
Did you not like that?
no.
That's such a weird thing because it's like a luxury for us almost. I remember sort of on weekends, mom would come downstairs and say, I'll make beans on toast for everybody, and everyone was elated to
I
hear that.
I guess I'm just more used to like breakfast specialties being on the sweet side.
Ah, right, yes, yeah, that's a big difference in the UK. Yeah,
Yeah, like I'm more used to, and this is completely off topic. And I no one wants to watch a pleasant conversation, but I don't fucking care. And there's no one else in line anyway. But I'm used to like waffles and pancakes being sort of the breakfasty sort of thing. Um,
right, yeah.
so for it to be beans on toast, it felt
Yeah,
like the sort of
it's
thing
shocking.
that you eat when you've run out of literally everything else in your house.
Which is probably why it is sort of a national dish almost, because it's like we have literally been rationing for like the last 1,000 years,
Yeah.
really. So it's like you really do got to do what you can, really. Um, which is That's hilarious. That is so funny. I hear that so much from literally everybody else from anywhere else in the world. They
Oh
come here and
no.
they say, "Lovely people, but terrible food," and it's like, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Maybe
The
it's why we're so sort of friendly almost. It's like, yeah, we know you're gonna have terrible food here, but at least you'll go home and say, the people were nice, at least,
The people were
hopefully.
nice. They were very kind to us dumb Americans. Um we I did a fair hop once on the tube
Ah, yeah.
because my physical card wasn't working. And then my phone died, so I didn't have Apple Pay and it wouldn't let us charge the same card twice. So I just
Well, I mean, that's a
had to rush
quintessential
in, so
English
I'm a little bit of a
experience.
criminal. I'm a little bit of a criminal in the eyes of London.
Oh no, everybody does it. So you've become one of us if you've jumped the tube. I mean, welcome to England as far as
All
I think.
right, good, good, good. Um, we also we weren't used to not having air conditioning. That was another big thing. Which we knew that that wasn't common, but it didn't make it any easier. Um, luckily it wasn't too hot while we were there. It was like in October, so
Oh yeah, I can't imagine it got above 15 degrees in
but
October.
here like today, let's see. I'm going to see what the temperature was today. Uh in Celsius today it was 32.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So you're getting pretty hot now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very very seldom gets to even 25 in the UK really. So I think having air conditioning is sort of a waste of money almost. It's something we really do.
Yeah, it's a necessity here. Even now I have a little fan that needs to be turned on, but I've left it off for now. Um I mean, I've enjoyed talking with you. I don't know how much more I have to say about the topic, and it seems like people are probably in my friend Joel's live right now anyway, so I may just call my stream and go bother him. Um,
Yes, I actually rang him once.
oh, really?
I rang him well because I first time I've ever seen these sort of streams before. I'm not really online all that much, and I was sort of scrolling through YouTube, and I was like, oh, I'll call in. He was like, I think it was like, guess why I left Christianity.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
And well, I failed. I didn't guess, and then I got called vapid and a whole bunch of other things. And I was like, 5 minutes into a conversation, and you're calling someone vapid. I was like, okay, maybe this is a bit of an American English divide. We would not do this,
Maybe
even if
so,
we.
but vapid is an eloquent insult. He could have called you like an asshole. So, or
Yeah, yeah.
maybe he did.
Which is I just found it hilarious because I was like, oh my god, like that's just so shocking to say something like that within sort of like 2 minutes of speaking to somebody. It's hilarious. I was like, okay, fair enough. I will take it. I'll be Baptist. I can handle that.
I mean, the things I can see why that he would have said that based on some of the things you've said so far. Not to also call you vapid, but typically when people are talking about their faith and they're kind of just like, well, I don't really believe in the stuff, but I just kind of like the vibes.
Yeah,
You know? I think that's
I
probably
think you've
more
got
the
a
angle he
different
was coming from. I don't think he
style.
meant you as a person. I think he meant more of the beliefs that you're expressing are very non-committal.
Yeah. No. Well, I hilarious. But then I sort of called this show, and I was like, well, this is a very different, very different approaches here,
Yeah.
which
Well,
I
if it would
think
help,
is
I can put Joel's picture up on screen. I do have that. Um,
Oh, you've got a picture.
yeah. You can't see it on the call in, but it is on stream right now, so everyone sees his face.
Right, interesting. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's a very different format. I guess Joel likes to get into sort of more of the debates almost, and sort of debating the sort of
I
the
mean, I
book and
typically do, but we didn't really disagree on much stuff. I was like, "Hey, this is kind of fucked up," and you were like, "Yeah, pretty much." I don't really know how to debate from there.
yeah,
Like,
I
I'm not
suppose
gonna take you agreeing with me. No,
I mean, unless there's something else there, a different atrocity you could sort of pin me down on. But
there's a lot of them in there, but it seems like you're kind of already aware of a lot of them, and you say that you recognize the book being man-made. Um, so it kind of becomes a moot point to talk about any atrocity in the Bible when you don't hold to the Bible being divine word.
yeah, yeah, of course. So yeah, you sort of have to put a pin in it there, I suppose, don't you? Really?
It's kind of for lack of a better term, a trump card to just be like,
Uh,
yep, well, that's not real.
yeah, yeah, of course.
Shit, I guess that's right.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. Definitely is. But no, I mean, I think this is great. I think having these debates is useful. I think certainly in the US it seems to be more necessary with this sort of evangelicalism, um, which I actually heard someone recently tell me, that a friend of their friend has recently become one, and I just sort of went, "Geez," kind of thing. Because I think it's very light here. It's very loose. It's very, it's not this kind of, we're going to tell kids, you're going to go to hell if you don't do this. There's really none of this
Oh,
kind
I
of
I
thing.
was talking with people just the other night on my stream. The topic was don't raise kids Christian, and part of it is because of the people teaching kids about hell. And I had so many adults come in here and be like, "I'm gonna teach my kid about hell because they need to know the truth." I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's a bit heavy for kids, that kind of idea. I think you can teach good, bad sort of punishments, rights and responsibilities to children without this sort of divine sort of burning sort of
Yeah,
place that you want
and
to go.
if you think that your all perfect, morally good God would sentence children to eternal torment, then maybe it's worth reconsidering. You know.
Yeah, of course. I mean, and there's a whole host of things that people get wrong as well. I think the big one for me, um, as a gay man, the big one is this idea. Homosexuality is mentioned once in the Bible, and they'll sort of use it relentlessly to tell you why you shouldn't be doing this, and then a whole host of other things that are mentioned numerous times. They're like, "Oh, don't care. Sorry, not listening." It's like, well, you can't beat me over the head with a stick with the homosexuality passage here and ignore every other passage
Yeah.
about your own behavior. You can't do that. I'm sorry. Like that's inconsistent application for me. If you want to be a sort of literal Christian in that way, that you literally want to comb through everything and say, this is the word of God. So I'm going to beat you over the head with a stick with it. No, sorry, I won't listen to this, unfortunately. But luckily, there's not a lot of that in the UK. Very, 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 very slim. But I see more of that coming from the Islam slide, where a lot of the children of Muslim parents are not Muslim, but they actually can't tell their parents. A good friend of mine, I have to be a little bit careful. He sort of came out to me as gay, and he was like, they will literally kill me. They will literally kill me if they know. Like, I have to put up this pretense. And that sort of story there sort of broke a little bit of religion for me. I was like, yeah, that really is not it for me. You know, I was so lucky that my parents were very, very accepting of it. So like to hear that from someone in my country in the 25th century, I was like, that's a problem. I think that's a problem that you've effectively your child is terrified of you. You've actually made your child terrified of you. So that was hard. That was really
Yeah.
tough to listen to. Really, I found that
I
really quite tough.
I haven't heard any like threats of like taking the life of children, but I've personally known people who have been kicked out of their homes because they were gay, and their family was Christian, or they were forced into conversion therapy, which obviously didn't fucking work because it's conversion therapy. Um,
What even goes on at those camps? What actually happens?
Straight up child abuse.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, it comes down to extremism. It comes down to when it crosses a line from being your religious belief to a religious belief that you need everyone around you to also uphold. Um,
Yeah, that's where it sort of becomes a line for me where it's like, I don't want to be part of this if that's how you guys are going to behave. For me, it's just sort of like you say, it's a nice vibe. I like to follow this sort of direction. But when it becomes, I'm beating you over the head with a stick, it's like, yeah, I don't. This is not. This is not. This is not right, guys. Like this is Orwellian almost. It really is. It's scary to see, but and I started listening to more of these arguments because of these types of streams. I'm sort of interested in it now. So yeah, maybe in a few years' time, it'll slowly start to fizzle out. Maybe I don't know, but we'll see.
I hope we see a reduction in religious extremism from every religion. Um, right now, I'd say it's Christian nationalism that is posing the most threat in the United States. Um, but yeah,
Yeah,
Blake, it's been great talking with you. I think at this point we kind of are just going on in agreement with each other.
yeah, it does seem so. To be honest, it's
So
probably
it
not
was
very
it
good
was lovely
viewing.
to talk to you, but I think I am going to go ahead and let you go.
Yeah, no, perfectly fine. It's about 2:30 in the morning here, so I'm probably gonna get some
Cool.
sleep.
Yeah, have a good rest of your evening. Get some rest. You're welcome to come back another time if you'd like.
Definitely, no. It's always nice talking. Always nice.
All right, have a good one.
You have a good night. Thanks.
I gotta be honest. I love having you guys here. It's it seems like tonight's just not a good night for people to come watch, and that's fine. Um, I think I might go pester Joel for a little while because I think that's where the party's at. Um, this is what happens when I stream on a day that's not one of my usual days. So we're about an hour in now. It's going to be a short one tonight. I will not be on for Ask tomorrow, but Mezzo will be. he's going to be doing an early one starting at like 10 Eastern. But I will not be on because I am going to be hanging out with a friend of mine. So we're going to go over say hey to Joel. I need everyone to be on their best behavior. Or else. So I will see you all later.